So static NAT, as we know all, static NAT is as compared to the other NAT, it's a consistent mapping between the real and the mapped IP. What do you mean by real and the mapped IP? There is always a real IP. So for example, in our static NAT configuration, in the static NAT labs, actually, this is the ASA firewall. So the ASA firewall has an IP address, is the internal external IP address to the outside world. It's actually this IP, okay, 201.254.120, and the external people from the outside, which is RDP, you can RDP to this machine, which we have simulated. The traffic is coming from 201.65.100, and it's coming from the router. This is the external router, outside router. So somebody is coming from this outside router, and he will be able to configure that. So basically, you guys are coming from this network, and you will be trying to enter to your LAN in DMZ server. So in the DMZ server, let's say we have some kind of server is available. This server is hosting web, DNS, or any services like this, and you want to allow the external people to log into the through the firewall. They can securely log into the internal machine. So there is always a real IP. Real IP means the real IP of the server, which is look like a private IP, which is not visible to the outside world. And that is why you will be hitting to the mapped IP, the map IP, which is visible to the outside world, like the public IP address. So that map IP, let's say if it's a /24, any IP address which is free, you can map this public IP with the private IP. People will try to hit the public IP, and internally it will be logging and then forwarding the traffic to the internal IP. Is that clear? So this is the typical example where you will be on a day-to-day basis. If somebody is asking you, can you please open this internal server for the outside world? We are accessing the Amazon, eBay, all those services, just similar like this. Okay. The internal network, we don't know the real IP of this device. We only know the external IP. So for example, if I go to Amazon.com, I ping to AM. So that's the server. That's the server public IP address. Okay, which is known to the outside world, but the internal IP is different for that server, which is unknown to you. Okay, so that's why static NAT is important to provide you one-to-one mapping, consistent mapping between the real and the mapped IP, allow bidirectional traffic initiation. Both can initiate the traffic if an access loss exists. So you can see here. So we have two internal server, 10.1.1.1, 10.1.1.2, and we have two IP as well, 209.165.201 and 201.202. So each IP, each internal, this is the real IP, and that's the mapped IP. Okay, so mapped IP means the public IP, public facing IP, and that's the real IP. So this real IP is known to internal only because they are private range. They are not visible to the outside world. That is why we need to make sure the people coming from the outside, they hit the public IP, and the firewall or whatever the device we have applied, it will hit back to the real IP, sending the traffic back to the real service, real IP. Okay, so how we can configure the static NAT on the Cisco ASA firewall or any other way? We need to create two objects. Okay, we can create an object that the object is, for example, is the real IP. Okay, and the static IP, we are saying the NAT, DMZ, and outside. Static to this. Then we create an access list. Why we are creating the access list? Anybody knows about that? Why we are creating an access list? Where the traffic is coming from actually?
It's coming for low priority.
It's coming from a lower security level to the higher security level. And in that case, we always need an access list to allow the traffic from the lower to the higher. Higher to lower is always allowed. Anyway, even you don't need an access list. But in case of if the traffic is initiated from the lower to the higher security level, we must need to have an access list entry, allow the traffic to come in from the lower to higher security level. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. So configuration point of view, we can do this configuration from our, from ASTM as well, going into the firewall, going into the NAT rule, and here you can see we can allow the we can allow the traffic, we can allow the add NAT rule before, add NAT rule objects. Okay, so we can define our NAT here as well. Okay, so this is the original packet, this is the translated packet, and you want to enable the rule, you want to do it bidirectionally or unidirectional. Everybody's clear about bidirectional, unidirectional. Unidirectional mean the traffic can only come from the outside to inside. The bidirectional mean the traffic can be initiated from internally to externally as well. Okay, and whenever the internal machine can go outside, they always use the same IP. Okay, so let me just show you how we can configure on the command line. So we need to log into the firewall, and the firewall we have is the primary firewall. So we never configure anything on the secondary firewall. Keep in mind. Okay. So what are the two IP addresses we need? First of all, we need two IP addresses. We need two IP. What are the two IP we need? We have in our diagram, we have two IP. Which is the two IP we have? We have 172.16.21.1 and we have 201.254.120. Yeah, no. 120 is the public facing IP. We will never use it. Look at your spreadsheet. Everyone has been assigned an IP address. Okay, mine is 21, Zaki is 22. So let's say for Zaki point of view, if we want to configure a static NAT, we have provided this table, A, B, and AC. So AB, this is the public facing IP. So please do not duplicate. Okay, do not use 120. 120 is already assigned to an interface. We need a free IP address from this rule. This is the /24 range. Okay, /24 range, we have assigned these IP to you. So this is the real IP, this is the public IP. So we need, first of all, we need to create two objects. Okay, once we create the two objects, we create the NAT as well. So these two objects you can create by doing in the command line as well. And this is a configuration example we have already given here. So we need to, first of all, we need two objects. So there are three steps actually. One is to create two objects. I'm creating object network, DMZ real IP, and then the host name, one of the real IP in case this, okay? Then the second object we are creating. Then create another object, create an access list, okay? And apply the access list. And then there is a NAT as well. We need to do the NAT, sorry. So NAT is not here. NAT. Yeah, this is the NAT, sorry. That's the NAT. So basically, okay, so I will just create two objects. So how we can create this object? Let me just show you in the command line. Object, question mark, network object, and I'm saying DMZ real. That's the name, and I mean that name is fine, but it's better for a good practice reason, for a good network environment. You might be associated with the IP address as well. Okay, what is my real IP? My real IP is 172.16.21.1. Or look at my spreadsheet. Okay. So you will be, this is my private private range. This is my public range. So my public range 172.16.21.1. Okay. This is the name. The name can be just MAS. The name can be just real, right? That's fine. But we are associating an IP address with a name. So once we see the name, actually, we know which IP address they are using. Name. Once we see that, that's the host actually. It's a host address because it's just one address. Okay. Second is we need to do the object network MAS public 201.254.121. Is it 121 or 122? Yeah, I think it's 121. Yeah. Host 201.254.121. And when I write it down, I can see these now in my ASTM as well. So these two, I just show you how we can configure on the command line. Okay. You can see these MAS, this one, I have created MAS public, and this is the one. These are the two objects I have created. Have a look. Okay, both are host IP because there's just one host. It's a one IP mapped real IP to the public IP side. Okay, MAS public 201.254.121. And this is the IP address we have. Make sure you are configure the correct IP. And this is the real IP we have configured. You can put any description as well. Okay. Right. Now, once we've done it, then the next step is, so we configure two objects. Okay. Then we configure a static NAT. And NAT will be, so this will be starting from your real to the outside. And outside, what is my outside? Outside. My outside will be outside 21 and my DMZ will be DMZ 21. So I will be configuring NAT out. Okay. Source static and source static. You see the real will become first. If it's DMZ, start with the DMZ, you will put the DMZ IP first and then the outside IP. That's how the mapping will be working. So sometimes it gets confused actually which IP will come first. Okay, static point of view, my IP will be, I have created two objects. That is my object first. It's better to copy into the notepad the real name and the public name IP as well. Pure run NAT. Okay, so you see this right now. We have configured the NAT we are saying that the traffic is coming from, okay. I will show you the NAT rule as well in the ASTM once you configure on the okay. So for example, the NAT rule we have applied. Look at this. So that NAT rule is saying 21 to out 22. This is the source and that destination. So let me see if we double click that. Okay. So once you apply the command line, look how it's visible inside the GUI as well. So we are saying if the source traffic 21 going to out 22, we'll be using this source IP for any destination, for any services. And this is the static NAT. Look, there are three options: static, hide, static NAT, and what will be the source IP? So this is the source IP. This is the original. So in the NAT, there are two things. There is a pre-NAT and the post-NAT. Pre-NATs come in the original packet, and the post-NAT comes in once the packet is translated into the public IP address, which is called a translated packet. Okay. So this is the rule we have applied. Any source, this is the interface. So one side you see, if coming from outside, source is from any source going to this server and any services, and source will be, okay, there is no source NAT. It will be destination NAT to this IP. Okay. Now, once you applied that, let me just go into the logging mode. I am going into the monitor and I just want to show you something. When I hit that logging, so now I need to see the traffic is coming from where. So this is my external machine 21113, and in the spreadsheet you can see that this is the external machine which we have shown in this diagram. Okay. So 10.205.0.113, you can RDP into this machine, which is, we shown this as an external machine. That external machine is connected to somewhere on the internet and coming back to your firewall. And we will be hitting 201.254 network, and you will see what is going to happen. So that is mission. I have already logged in. The username is already provided to you. You can just simply RDP into that 201.254. These are the username and passwords already provided to you. Cisco at 123. So for example, if I want to log into 201. This machine, I can type, let's say, username, user2, Cisco 123. So you can see I can log into this machine. And from there onward, I can connect. I can send the traffic to my external network. Okay. I will be generating a traffic from here to 201.254.120 network from here. Okay. So let me just open the connection. We haven't allowed anything so far. Let's see what is going to happen. 201.254.121. So you see it is not working. And the reason could be, if you see in the logs, actually, these are the real-time logs. The traffic should be coming from source address 201.165.100. 165.100. Filter. Okay, let's check the IP address of this machine. So this is the, okay. Yeah, see this 201.65.100. I can reach to the firewall. I cannot reach to 201.254.121, or I cannot telnet to this machine even though I have a NAT entry. So look at this, the traffic is coming, tier down IP address coming from this to, right? So you can see this, the traffic is coming right from this network, but it's actually denied because the traffic is denied because the rule is not existing. So we can apply the rule like, and then we can apply the traffic on the real IP. So now I need to apply the rule. I need to apply the rule in the access list. Which interface I need to apply? I need to apply this access list on the outside 21. Yeah, outside 21, any source, and destination will be real IP. Sorry, it's not selected. Double click. Okay, which services you want to open? You want to open IP. If you open IP, then it will be everything. Let's say I want to open ICMP, and I want to open telnet. I want to open HTTP filter, double click. Okay, so I open telnet, HTTP, and ICMP. Apply. One second, the traffic 201.254.121. It's not coming in. Okay. So this is the access list we have applied. Second. And save on the configuration command. Show run access group. Group, we have applied the out21 access list on the interface. That's the access list we have applied. So DMZ out, DMZ21 out 20 source, DMZ real IP 172.16.21, 201.254.121. Show run object 9 172. Where is 172.21? Hang on. 172.16.21. 92.16.21. That's the real IP. And the public IP will be 201.254.121. So that is fine. So why this is not working? 201.254. I just want to check the IP. Objects are fine because sometimes we create the object. Objects. Okay, so MAS DMZ real IP 172.16.21.1. Let me see if I can reach that. 172.16.1. Okay, I can reach that. This is 172.16. I don't want any typo mistakes. And this is 201.254.121. 201.254.121. 172. 16.21.1. Okay, 201.254.1. So the IP is fine. Okay, the IP is fine. Okay, let me just check the traffic. I think this command is maybe old one. Oh, sorry. This is the interface. Sorry, this is a mistake. I got it. Yes. So basically, I put the wrong interface. If you look at the diagram, our interface should be interface. I selected the wrong interface actually. Come on. Oh. Okay, so basically the traffic is coming from the internet interface, not the which is the so this should not be DMZ, it should be internet. You can fix from here. Okay. So basically traffic is denied. Look, ICMP is denied now. Okay, TCP connection built on the port 23. Okay, it's not working. But now you can see at least the traffic is coming. We can see some hits. Okay, so 1 minute. So just come to see. Okay, so the source is the Okay, we haven't allowed the ICMP. So we can go into the access rule. That's the internal access list. This is Zaki has created. Good. Okay. Sorry. My mistake. So this is not on the outside. The access list has to be applied. You see, that's the problem. The access list has to be applied here. So the access list has to be, we applied the access list on the wrong interface, right? So the access list has to on the now it should work. Yeah, you see, the traffic is working, and I am from the outside. I'm coming from the 201.254.121, and now you can see I can log into my external machine to internal machine, and here you can see the connection is now established. Okay, coming from the internet. Clear? So that's the only thing we made a mistake. The traffic must be coming from the internet's network, internet interface, and we applied the access list. So this is the internet. Look at this is the internet interface. We had applied on the outside, which is wrong. Okay, so that's the access list. Oh, sorry, NAT. So let me just repeat it again. What you need to do is where is the configuration? So basically, what we have done is, first of all, for the access, for the NAT, static NAT, we need to make sure create two objects. What are the two objects as per your diagram? One is object is the real one, 172.16.21.1. The other one is the public one, 201.254.1. The traffic is coming. We are looking the spreadsheet. In the spreadsheet, we have been assigned our own dedicated IP, 201.21. This is the real IP. This is the mapped IP. This is the external machine which we can log in from our RDP. Okay, and the username and password is already provided, which will we be creating two objects. So first of all, we have created two objects. You created two objects. One is the real one. That's my real IP, and that's my public IP. Okay. Then you configure the NAT, and this is the NAT statement, NAT DMZ21. Internet, you will be using DMZ22, 23. Source will be, first of all, whatever the DMZ. If we start with the DMZ, the IP will be the DMZ IP, and the second will be the public. The IP will be public IP. Okay, and then you configure the access list on the internet side. Okay.
Okay.
Clear?
Yeah, pretty much.